Alf, today we talk about the state of the sports card hobby as we round out 2024. Can you believe it? 2024 is coming to an end. What does 2025 have in store? We're going to look at some major pillars within the sports card hobby and just talk about each one as well as improvements, potential improvements as we move into 2025. Stick around. What's going on, sports card hobby family? Another day, another sports card video. Hopefully everybody is doing amazingly well. It is almost, can you believe it? It is almost Christmas time coming up here in a couple of weeks. Absolutely amazing that this year is already wrapping. It just feels like it absolutely flew by 2024. Before I deep dive into it, we've got our Tuesday shoutouts. If you've never submitted with PSA, $25 off on me on your first submission, one card minimum. A lot of people taking advantage of this. It's a fantastic little program there. If you have never submitted with PSA, SCD25 at the billing and shipping screen will give you $25 off that first submission. So make sure to take advantage. Card Capsule, you want good supplies. You don't want to pay a fortune for them, whether that be top loaders or penny sleeves, cases for your cards. Check out Card Capsule. There's a promo code in the video description as well as the pinned comments to get you some money off there at Card Capsule. Also, justcollect.com. You've got a collection. Maybe you want to sell off half of it or all of it. You want to know what the heck is this stuff worth? JustCollect.com has a very easy appraisal form on their website. Leighton Sheldon over there will take good care of you. And he's got a great YouTube channel, Just Collect, to where he's showing off a lot of different collections and educating you on different cards, as well as doing really good interviews over at Just Collect YouTube channel. All right, I'm not really going to sugarcoat this at all. Have there been a lot of scammy and weird and stuff bad going on in the sports card hobby in 2024? Sure, there has been some controversial style stuff. I've talked about some of it on here, whether that's stolen cards or it's card cleaning or it's CT scanning or it's weird buy-sell arrangements that went awry. There's always going to be this sort of stuff, especially with just how robust the sports card market and the sports card hobby was in 2024. I would venture to say that 2024 has been the most prolific year in terms of activity in the sports card hobby ever. And that includes 2020 and 2021 for a variety of different reasons that we're going to talk about. Let's first start with sports card grading. The major companies, and of course you got a lot of companies too that grade cards outside of the major four companies, which are PSA, BGS, SGC, and CGC. These four companies have never graded more cards in their history, minus Beckett, which has been down. Beckett has graded more cards going back in time. They're struggling, but even with their struggles, as a whole, sports card grading has never been this popular going back to 1991, 1992 as sports card grading first started out. To give some context, the first 10 years that PSA was grading sports cards, they graded 1 million cards in total. So from 1991 to about 2000, they graded about 1 million cards. I remember an interview where Joe Orlando, the old president CEO, was talking about this. And then now you look at it and they're grading over 1 million cards every single month. So that gives you an idea of just the ascension of authentication and sports card grading over time. Isn't that mind-boggling to think about? A big part of this too, which I think was somewhat unexpected if you go back a few years, is the absolute meteoric rise of grading TCG cards. Going back 4 or 5 years, this was not the case. You know, you had a lot of sports cards getting graded. TCG, yeah, but not now. I mean, now this is about 50% of PSA's business is TCG led by Pokemon. I don't think that 5, 6, 7 years ago, people necessarily saw just what was going to happen with Pokemon cards outside of maybe guys like Rudy at Alpha Investments that have been buying this stuff for years, decades. But now on the TCG side, and of course on the sports card side as well, you have a lot of people that are buying and hoarding sealed product. You know, whether that's the new stuff coming out, whether that's the old stuff. It is now in vogue on the TCG side to be buying Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, and just sitting on those boxes. And it's just continued to evolve. We'll have to see, will that continue in 2025? I do think that it will. As far as 2030, 2035, That'll be the big question mark. Print runs and that sort of stuff. Is there that same sort of participation with people buying and holding sealed product or TCG as we move forward? Sports cards, it's a little bit different because it's more reliant on hits, new product, and draft classes and so forth. And so if you have a great draft class, if you've got great hits, you look at like 2018 baseball product with Ohtani, for example, that stuff has done very well, of course, over time. That's sealed. Now you've got CT scanning that's come into the mix where that makes it a little hairy. But TCG Pokemon, they're not reliant on the serial number, the big hit, coming out of those boxes, which again kind of insulates itself from, CT scanning. Sure, CT scanning still would have an effect, but it's not the same sort of effect as if you could see the 2018 Prism, Luca, Black Finite 1 of 1 or whatever, the Nebula or whichever one that's missing out of that set. So sports card grading just been on an absolute tear, not really showing any signs of slowing down as we move into 2025. Manufacturing has gotten a little hairy here over the last couple of years as Fanatics is battling Panini in court and trying to take over those licenses early. Of course, they will take over the licenses, major sports licenses here over the next couple of years, and they've bought into other licensing as well. They are clearly taking over. And what will that mean for Panini moving forward? I still think they continue to make trading cards. It's probably a flip-flop where, now you've got Topps Chrome Basketball coming out that's unlicensed by Fanatics Topps. And then in a couple of years, it'll probably be Panini Prism that's coming out unlicensed for basketball. It's probably just going to flip around and people are going to have to make choices as to what products they're going to buy and so forth. The thing that makes that a little bit tricky as well is both Panini and Topps are signing exclusive deals for a variety of different athletes. A great example of this right now, of course, is Wembanyama. Wembanyama is a exclusive signer for Fanatics. So if you want his autographs, you got to buy the unlicensed Topps products. But if you want the licensed basketball products with the Spurs logo and all that stuff on it, then you got to go to Panini and buy the Prism products. So there's a lot of money being moved around here between the two companies. You could make an argument that both companies will continue to sell out and have success moving forward. And as far as they're concerned, if you just look at sales overall, they're selling out. This stuff is not sitting around like what you did see 10, 15 years ago, a new product coming out. It's not sitting around. It is completely selling out. Maybe you've got blaster boxes at Walmart and stuff that are sitting there and just kind of collecting some dust. But first off the line, hobby boxes, from a manufacturing standpoint, I'm sure they're pretty happy with the way that things are going on the manufacturing side. Content creation in sports cards and marketing. I can speak specifically to this as I'm coming up on 5 years in March of next year of being on this channel. And man, when I started my channel in March of 2020, right as the pandemic was getting going, it was a ghost town in a lot of ways for consistent sports card content. And I say consistent because there was sports card content. I don't want to take away from folks that were making content back then, but it was here and there. It wasn't necessarily daily. And there wasn't, of course, high production type stuff, money being put into putting out high production sports card content. And I'm still not doing it here. This is my iPhone that I'm working off of. But you're looking at folks like a Jeff Wilson or, a Mojo or a Roth or, David Adams. And people are putting money into having cameramen, having good thumbnails, spending money on expensive camera equipment and editing software and that sort of a thing. The amount of high production stuff, and there's documentaries coming out on sports cards, that was not the case going back to 2018, 2019, 2020, at least not that I could see. And that's where really my channel grew quickly over that period of time from March of 2020 going into 2022. A lot of the reason for that was a lack of options, not necessarily that I was putting out incredible, amazing sports card content. I was having fun with it. I was putting out stuff that I enjoyed putting out from my basement, from my attic. But of course, I was not putting out any sort of high production type material. Just consistent daily commentary type stuff that I do now, and I still enjoy doing it. So I guess that's my point. It's a lot more saturated now on YouTube and IG, but that also serves as a marketing mechanism for the overall sports card hobby. There is stuff when people search sports cards, whether it be on Google or YouTube or on IG, there's stuff to find, a lot more stuff to find. Again, not to say there was nothing to find before, but now you're seeing a lot more stuff that's out there. So there's just a lot more options out there in the content creation space. Of course, can there be better content or different things to talk about? Yeah, of course, but there's a lot of different creators out there and new creators coming on all the time that are trying new things. And Always new and different voices out there, and I think that's a good thing overall, giving people options. Buying and selling options. And mainly we'll talk about auction houses here. You could also include shows and stores, shops, and so forth, sports card stores and shops. But man, auction houses, there's so many different options, and there's a huge variety, whether it's sports cards or TCG or pop culture. There is no shortage of buying, selling platforms and options for those in the collectible space. And man, this is a night and day difference when you're talking about going back in time to when I was a kid. You know, you kind of wonder, like during the last boom, how did it not keep on going? Or, you know, what were the major issues? I mean, there's just so much variety now. The advent of the internet, of course, has made buying and selling just a lot easier in general for all things. But sports cards, collectibles, trading cards, it's just opened up all the doors. You know, a lot of these chase cards, another thing that makes it kind of fun, the internet allows you to find these cards. And then also the ones that you can't find, it adds even more mystique, you know, to that particular card. You know, it's like they talk about the Topps Chrome 1 of 1, Curry rookie card that's never been found. It's kind of amazing, given the fact that you do have, you know, all these different, you know, social media outlets. You've got all these different websites. Where is that card? And of course, if it did come out somewhere, it would be like wildfire all over the internet. And so it's just a really unique time in the sports card hobby. Again, buying and selling, you didn't have these options. You know, in 1990, when I was a kid, 9 years old, your only option was trading in that Jose Canseco card back to the card shop to get more packs, or the Shaquille O'Neal Flair Ultra rookie card, Larry Johnson Upper Deck rookie card. You know, I mean, there's just not the same sort of options. It was good collecting time for sure, but it seems so primitive to what we have nowadays. Sports card shows. My local Raleigh card show has grown dramatically over the last 5 years. The first one I went to was in 2019, and half the place was empty. They couldn't even fill it. And this was the smaller building, the Steve Kerr building over here at the Raleigh Fairgrounds. It was half empty, and it was a lot of the guys that you could tell that these are guys that are probably retired, and they're just getting out on a weekend to hang out with their buddies. Now we've got, I just saw a notice, there's a 500 table show that's actually in the larger building on the fairgrounds. Really cool building. It's kind of like a mini stadium where they've basically taken like the basketball court or whatever it is down here, but it's a old school building where you've got windows everywhere. So there's tons of natural light coming in. It's really cool. And then kind of like bleachers all around. But this thing is basically sold out. I think they've got 50 or 60 tables as of a week ago or something left. And that just shows that, man, even my local Raleigh show, which I wouldn't say Raleigh is a prolific sports card town. Yes, you've got collectors here, of course, and it's a decent sized town and area, but you know, it's not known for, it's not like the Northeast where you go up in New York and Connecticut and there's a zillion shows, or the Midwest, tons of shows. It's not quite like that. And you've got it growing and continuing to grow. And they do shows every month in this area, whether it be toys, collectibles, sports cards. There's a huge mixture of these types of shows. So the demand for shows, and I think this is really interesting because it made sense that shows were busy coming off the pandemic. Because of course, we're all stuck in our houses for a year and a half, and shows are opening back up and everyone's going to the show. Well, now we're about to be in 2025. We're literally 2.5 years removed from being in our houses, almost 3 years removed from being in our houses, and these shows are still busy and growing. I still do think that there's going to be consolidation with certain shows going into 2025. Even as I'm looking at a show that's in Raleigh in the middle of December, which is again supposed to be slow season. Remember, it's the holidays, everyone's traveling, doing other things. And my local show is sold out, a 500 table show is a little mind-boggling to me. In the middle of December. I thought if you told me it was in September or October, something, fine. It's the middle of December. This is supposed to be slowdown period. It doesn't feel like the sports card hobby has a slowdown period anymore. Sports card stores. I saw a report that Cardiac's, my local store, it's actually down in Apex, is about 40 minutes from me, but they're selling out of all their new product. They're busy as hell. You look at Burbank cards. Burbank does a lot of IG reels and things with updates and how their showcases are doing. They are busy. They are very busy. And, again, I think that a lot of people are doing holiday shopping and that sort of thing. So you're probably seeing a lot of sales going on. But again, if you go back in time, it's not that long ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, this was not the case. There was a huge focus on, like with a lot of businesses, I mean, and this is me too. I remember thinking going back 5 years ago, is the retail store kind of a dead thing? Is everybody just going to order everything online? Which of course a lot of people do order a lot on Amazon, various websites. But the whole thing with the internet and just kind of where it was all going, just the ease of use, the convenience of just being able to click a button and it shows up at your doorstep. Even groceries, we order groceries, they show up on our doorstep. The idea that you would have card stores, card shops that are still flourishing and expanding and growing. I thought retail going back, again, 5 years. And then, of course, the pandemic hits. I'm thinking, is retail really going to be a thing? Or is it just going to have to transform into something else? That has not been the case in this industry, in this market. You see sports card stores that are not only not closing down, they're trying to figure out how to get into a bigger building. They're expanding. You've got a Cards HQ out there in Atlanta, but you've got other stores that are doing similar things. And that was not on my bingo card going back a few years, especially as we were sitting in the middle of the pandemic. So all's good, right? So what do we need to improve on? Well, I think there's a couple of easy ones, and I pointed them out here before. The first thing is there's such a huge focus on the big hit and the lottery tickets and the Willy Wonka golden tickets. There is such a huge focus around the excitement, and the MLB debut patches are kind of the latest version of this. And they brought this out last year, and this year, of course, they're back out again. These are amazing cards. I think that this is probably one of the better things that Topps has come out here over the last couple of years since Fanatics has taken over. I like the look of the cards. I think it's actually a cool chase card. It's not just another superfractor looking type card. It's unique. I really like what they did here with this MLB debut patch card. However, I think that there needs to be more of an emphasis and a focus on the actual cards themselves and the sets that are coming out. When I look at inserts in particular, I'm really tired of hearing about kabooms and downtowns. Frankly, I just think they're boring, and I'm bored of them. And they're starting to get way, way, way watered down. Now, I know these are Panini products, but can there be a little bit more focus around a cool new insert? It's a lot of the reason why a lot of folks collect 90s insert cards. Yes, there's a nostalgia factor there, absolutely, and it's kind of the beginnings of those cool inserts. But it also was just that card companies were competing, putting a lot of emphasis into those inserts and trying to make them as cool and different as they possibly could back then. There was a lot of focus around like, hey, how can we get creative with this? Haven't seen that yet, to me anyway, from Topps and Panini. It seems like kind of the same old thing without something cool. And that's where I want to see them. You just get kind of weird with it. Guys, come out, like get your creative team out there and just come out with something that's way off the wall. And maybe it's a complete miss. Maybe it's a Pontiac Aztec, going back in time where it was like they brought it out, they tried something and it just was kind of stupid looking, but try something. Try something that's not the same old kind of thing, and maybe it'll be a hit, and maybe it'll be something that is a nostalgic thing for the young people that are collecting now. In 20, 30 years, they'll be like, oh man, you remember those? Maybe that'll be the next PMG or the next chase card or whatever, the nostalgic thing that people are looking for 20, 30 years from now. That's really an easy one. So less of a focus. You can still keep the focus on some of that stuff. I know that's going to be something that gets the blood flowing. It's going to get the excitement, especially on social media. It's an easy thing to market. But also just like, man, in 2025 as we move forward, can we just make better looking cards, cool looking designs, something different, switch it up? And that leads me into the next topic where I think that we need more low to mid-end products. It is no secret at all that new product is too expensive for the average Joe collector trying to get into this hobby. And some might say, oh, well, get your money up. That's what actually, that was a commenter, a wise commenter once said to me going back a few weeks, hey, bro, you need to get your money up so that you can afford these expensive boxes and packs. Hey, you do you and you open that stuff and you get 5% of your money back. Totally cool. I'm just not going to participate in that. But a focus around more low to mid-end products and having some more options for young people out there. Keeping in mind that not everybody is, Mark Wahlberg with his family opening up packs of cards, or they don't necessarily want to get into breaks. Maybe they don't want to get their kids into breaks. Maybe they're like, you know what, if that's the method of distribution that's preferred in this hobby, then maybe this isn't for us. Or maybe we need to go into the singles market. And so I think it's important for dads like me, and I think there's other parents that are like me that don't necessarily want to get onto a live streaming platform and try to figure out what the hell everybody's doing and, picking out the carnival game that you want to play. have some low to mid-end products, and have some different promotional things. Reward your longtime customers, or just get creative. Fanatics is Fanatics Panini. You've got this huge database of customers. I know Fanatics is all about the data. They're selling apparel. They want to sell to everybody. Who are our sports betting clients? They want to cross over everybody. Well, figure out different ways to send out some of these boxes either at a discount or just free out to customers that that are in that Rolodex. Hey, this dude's been buying product from us. Let's throw a bone here. Let's give some back out to these consistent customers. Or maybe it's a customer that, hey, look, they're in the Topps database from a while ago, but they haven't bought product in a while. Why is that? It's because it's just triple what it was going back 5 years. And I understand some people are going to say, well, everything's more expensive. Eggs and milk are more expensive. Yeah, well, we need food to live. Okay? We don't need baseball cards. We don't need sports cards to survive. I'm not having a cardboard sandwich later on. So it's not really a comparison. So reward these folks, reward these customers, and figure out creative ways to draw attention to that on social media. Oh, you know what? Longtime customer, longtime card collector. We hooked him up. Fanatics Topps sent out a new box of Topps Update to him to open. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to get creative with it, and Fanatics marketing is creative. That team can come up with some different things. So we'll see what they do as we move into 2025. Let me know your thoughts here. Again, I know there's always going to be scammy type stuff. There's always going to be things to complain about for sure. I can find things just like everybody else. But the real hard truth is that 2024 has been the most prolific in terms of activity year in the entire sports card hobby history. All right, my friends, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.